Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to crack open something that's, well, absolutely fundamental to programming, making your Java programs interactive. We're going to get your code to have a real two-way conversation, where it can take information from a user and display information right back to them.
So, let me ask you this. Are your programs kind of a one-way street right now? You hit run, they do their thing in silence, and then they're just done. There's no back and forth, no way for a user to actually influence what's happening. Well, that's all about to change. We're going to turn that monologue into a real dialogue.
Okay, so first things first. We need to get our heads around this core idea, input and output. You'll probably hear people call it I/O for short. And really, the best way to think about it isn't like you're just shouting commands at your program, it's more like a conversation.
Let's break that down. What exactly is input? It's simple. It's all the stuff that we, the users, give to the program. It could be a name, a number, a choice from a menu, whatever information the program needs to do its job. It's our side of the conversation. And on the other side of that coin, you've got output. This is what the program gives back to us. It's the result, the answer, the confirmation message. It's the program side of the conversation, showing us what it's done.
This calculator example is just a perfect way to picture it. Think about it. You type in the numbers 5 and 10. That's your input. The program takes those numbers, does its magic, in this case addition, and then displays the result 15. That 15 right there, that's the output. Input, process, output. It's a simple loop, but it's the foundation of everything.
All right, so let's tackle the first part of this conversation, making our program talk. How do we actually get it to print messages and show results on the screen so we, the users, can see what's going on inside? In the world of Java, our go-to tool for this is System.out. You can just think of it as a direct pipeline from your code to the console window. It's how you tell Java, hey, print this text, or show this number for the user to see.
And there are basically two main flavors of this, as you can see here. First, there's System.out.print. It prints your text, and the cursor just stays right there at the end, waiting. But then you have System.out.println. See that ln at the end? It stands for line, and it's a game changer. It prints your text, and then, bam, it moves the cursor down to a brand new line. It seems like a tiny difference, but for making your output readable and nicely formatted, it is absolutely crucial.
Now, printing plain old text is cool and all, but what we really want to do is show the values that are stored in our variables, right? In Java, this is super easy. You just use the plus sign. Just look at this example here. We're taking a text string, your age is, and then just adding the age variable right onto the end. The fancy term for this is string concatenation, but really, all it means is smushing text and variables together to make dynamic messages.
Okay, so our program can talk. Awesome. Now for the really fun part, let's teach it how to listen. How do we actually grab what the user is typing on their keyboard and pull that information into our program so we can use it?
To do this, we're going to use a super handy tool built right into Java called the scanner class. Getting it ready to go is a piece of cake. It's just a two-step process. First, you have to tell your program you intend to use it, which is called importing it. Second, you create a new scanner object and tell it to listen to System.in, which is just a fancy name for the keyboard input.
So once the scanner is listening, you have to tell it what kind of data it should be expecting. And as you can see from this table, there's a specific method for each type of data. If you're waiting for a whole sentence of text, you use nextLine. If you're expecting a whole number, like an age, you use nextInt. If it's a number with a decimal, like a price, you use nextDouble. The key takeaway here is you have to use the right tool for the job. You've got to match the method to the data you're trying to read.
Now, the scanner is fantastic, but I have to give you a heads up. There is one very common, very frustrating little trap that gets almost every single new Java developer. So let's look at it right now so you can sidestep it like a pro. Have you ever seen this happen? Your program asks for a number, maybe an age, you type it in, you hit enter, and then the program just completely skips over the next question, like it was supposed to ask for your name, but it just blows right past it. If you've ever seen that, you've experienced this exact bug firsthand.
So here's the breakdown of what's actually happening. The problem happens when you use a method like int nextInteger and then try to use nextLine right after it. The cause is this. Int nextInteger is smart, and it only reads the number itself. It completely ignores the enter key you pressed. So that enter key press, that new line character, is just left sitting there in the input stream. When nextLine comes along, it sees that leftover new line and thinks, oh, perfect, the user just hit enter and gave me an empty line, and it immediately moves on. The fix? It's so simple it's almost silly. You just add an extra sc.newLine right after the int x integer. Its only job is to swoop in and consume that leftover enter key. That's it. Problem solved.
And one final piece of advice on the scanner. When your program is completely done asking for input, it's considered really good practice to officially close it using sc.close. You can think of it like turning off the lights when you leave a room. It tells the system you're done with that resource, which helps keep your code clean and efficient.
So let's just take a step back and look at what we've done. You've just armed yourself with a complete toolkit for creating interactive Java applications. You can now build programs that don't just run blindly, they actually communicate.
In just the last few minutes, we've covered all the essentials. We learned how to use System.out to make our program talk. We've mastered the scanner class to make it listen. We know why it's so important to match our scanner methods to the right data types. We know how to fix that tricky nextLine bug. And we know the good habit of closing our scanner when we're done. That's a ton of ground to cover.
With these tools, you can already build so much. A simple calculator, a program that asks for a user's name and says hello, a fun little quiz game. The possibilities are totally wide open. So I guess the only question left is, what's the first interactive program that you're going to build?